The burger slipped from her hands and fell to the floor, but the group of young professionals just laughed louder. "You were at MIT, America's top university must be really lowering their standards." Sophia froze in her seat, her laptop still open to the complex algorithm she'd been working on. 30 minutes later, the entire coffee shop was surrounded by sleek black cars with tinted windows. Who had called them? And why were they here? If you're outraged, type "respect" in the comments to stand with those who dare to follow unconventional paths. Every morning at precisely 7:30, Sophia Chen settled into her corner table at the daily grind. At 24, her mind was extraordinary, a testament to her academic background and her current reality. Working independently had been part of her life for the past 18 months, ever since that pivotal day when she'd recognized the fundamental flaw in her department's approach to quantum machine learning algorithms. "Morning, Sophia," called Raj from behind the counter. "The usual?" Sophia nodded with a smile. "Please, and maybe an extra napkin today." She wore simple clothes, jeans, a plain gray hoodie, but always kept 2 items with her. A custom-built laptop with processing power that would make most tech companies jealous, and a carefully folded letter from her former advisor still expressing his disappointment in her decision to leave the program. The letter rarely came out of her bag, but knowing it was there reminded her of the stakes on harder days. Today was becoming one of those days. As she shifted to make room for her breakfast, her arm caught the edge of the table. The burger she'd just received tumbled from her plate onto the freshly mopped floor. "Damn," she whispered, reaching down awkwardly. From a nearby table, laughter erupted. 4 young professionals in crisp business attire were pointing at her. "Nice coordination," said a woman with perfectly styled hair, her voice deliberately loud. "And they let you handle complex programming?" Sophia ignored them, focusing on cleaning up the mess. "Hey, I'm talking to you," the woman continued. "You actually claim to be from MIT? They must be really desperate for diversity admits these days." Her colleagues laughed, encouraging her. "Christine, she can't hear you," another one said loudly. "Too many hours staring at code, probably fried her social circuits." The coffee shop had gone quiet. A young barista stood frozen, coffee pot in hand, his eyes darting between Sophia and his manager, who was suddenly very busy with the register. "I hear just fine," Sophia finally said, her voice steady but quiet. "Better than you might think." Christine stood up and walked over, looking down at her. "So you're what? Some sort of dropout genius with a fancy laptop and everything? Cute setup." Sophia's hands trembled slightly as she tried once more to pick up the fallen food. The burger slipped again. The 4 colleagues erupted in laughter. "Look at this. Can't even handle a burger." Christine mimicked typing frantically on an invisible keyboard while making exaggerated, confused expressions. "This is our tech prodigy, folks." Sophia stared straight ahead, her jaw clenched tight as the laughter echoed through the suddenly silent coffee shop. A young barista, his name tag read Tyler, approached with a replacement burger. "I'm so sorry," he whispered, placing it carefully on Sophia's table. "This one's on the house." Before Sophia could thank him, Christine's voice cut through again. "Special treatment for the so-called genius. What a surprise." Tyler's cheeks flushed red, but he hurried away without responding. Sophia unwrapped the fresh burger slowly, her appetite gone. She reached into her bag, fingers brushing against the folded letter before finding her wallet. Inside was a photo of her research team, 5 smiling faces in front of a whiteboard covered in equations. 3 of them had red circles drawn around their faces, the ones who'd actually listened to her concerns about their project's direction. Around the café, other customers shifted uncomfortably in their seats. An elderly woman raised her novel higher, effectively blocking her view of the situation. A father with 2 small children gathered their things and left quickly, eyes averted. A student tapped furiously on his tablet, headphones firmly in place. No one spoke up. No one made eye contact, except for one young girl, maybe 12 or 13, who stared openly at Sophia from the next table. She wore a NASA t-shirt and clutched a half-eaten muffin. "Mom," she stage whispered, loud enough for everyone to hear. "That lady has the same kind of computer that Dr. Wilson showed us on career day." Her mother hushed her quickly, pulling her closer. Sophia placed her hands on her laptop, preparing to leave early, something she'd never done in her 18 months of coming to this cafe. That's when her phone rang. The screen displayed Eliza with a photo of an elegant young woman in formal academic regalia. "Hey." Sophia's voice was soft. "What's up?" "I just got a text from Tyler's sister. What's happening?" Eliza asked. Sophia's eyes darted to the young barista who was pretending to wipe down a nearby counter. So that's how she knew. "It's nothing," Sophia replied softly. "Just some corporate types being judgmental. I'm used to it." "Sophia," her voice hardened. "Those aren't just random people. They're from Axiom Tech, the company that tried to recruit you before you left MIT. "Eliza, please, I don't need." "Where are you sitting right now?" "My usual corner." A pause. "Stay there." "Eliza, don't you dare." But she had already hung up. Sophia set her phone down and noticed Christine watching her, a smirk spreading across her face. "Calling for backup?" she mocked. "Maybe they'll send someone who can actually finish what they start." Her colleagues laughed again, though one seemed less enthusiastic than before. Sophia closed her eyes briefly, took a deep breath, and opened the wrapped burger. She began eating methodically, dignity intact, despite the continued snickers from the nearby table. The young girl was still watching her, her eyes wide with something that looked remarkably like admiration. What would you do if your friend was disrespected like this? If you believe respecting those who take unconventional paths is something we should all practice, type "dare to be different" in the comments. Exactly 30 minutes after Sophia's phone call, the ground seemed to vibrate. The sound of engines, powerful luxury engines, filled the morning air. Through the cafe windows, everyone could see the convoy arrive. 3 black Tesla Model X's and a sleek Mercedes Maybach, all with dark-tinted windows. They parked with precision, blocking both the entrance to the parking lot and the view from the street. Christine's smile faltered. "What the hell?" The cafe fell silent as men and women in impeccable business attire emerged from the vehicles. 8 of them, each moving with deliberate confidence, formed a perimeter around the building. They didn't rush, didn't shout, just moved with a coordination that spoke of high-level organization. The bell above the door jingled as a man entered, tall with silver-streaked hair and a face that exuded authority. His eyes scanned the room methodically until they found Sophia in her corner. Without hesitation, he walked directly to her table, stopped precisely 2 feet away, and extended his hand. "Miss Chen," he said, voice carrying throughout the now silent cafe. "The research team at Harvard Quantum Computing Initiative is waiting. The panel begins in an hour." Sophia's eyes widened in recognition. "Dr. Harrington," she whispered. "You shouldn't have come personally." Christine and her colleagues had gone pale, their bravado evaporating in seconds. Dr. Harrington turned to face the cafe at large, but his gaze settled on the 4 young professionals. "This establishment," he announced, voice steady but commanding, "has someone who deserves your attention. Sophia Chen, whose revolutionary approach to quantum machine learning algorithms made our recent breakthrough possible. That woman," he pointed to Sophia, "is our keynote speaker today." One of Christine's colleagues shrank in his seat. Another muttered something that sounded like, "Oh God." Christine herself started to stand, perhaps to leave, but found her path blocked by another person who had entered silently, a woman with short gray hair and an air of unmistakable authority. "Going somewhere?" the woman asked quietly. "Perhaps to the conference where Miss Chen will be explaining the algorithm your company has been unsuccessfully trying to replicate for 6 months?" Sophia remained seated, her face betraying no emotion, but her fingers tapped quickly against her laptop, saving her work before closing it. Dr. Harrington placed an embossed conference badge on the table next to her half-eaten replacement burger. The gesture, formal yet personal, spoke volumes. "The team that's been implementing your framework," he said softly, though in the silence everyone could hear, "asked me to personally ensure you made it to the panel. Dr. Yoshida's daughter specifically requested to meet you. She says she chose computer science because of your paper." More people filed in, lining the walls of the cafe. One by one they introduced themselves, department heads, research fellows, graduate students, creating an impromptu welcoming committee. The woman who had blocked Christine stepped forward. "We apologize for the intrusion, Miss Chen," she said formally, "but we couldn't start without you." Sophia looked around at the faces. Some she recognized from video conferences, others complete strangers, but all wore the same expression: respect. Raj, the cafe owner, emerged from behind the counter for the first time since the incident began. "Miss Chen," he said, voice unsteady, "your coffee's on the house from now on. Congratulations." One of Dr. Harrington's assistants helped Sophia pack up her equipment. The path to the door now lined with researchers standing in professional deference. Throughout the cafe, people watched with new understanding. The elderly woman who had hidden behind her novel was now taking photos. A man whispered to his colleague, "That's the Chen algorithm they've been talking about in all the journals." Christine and her colleagues weren't escorted out or publicly humiliated. They didn't need to be. The power of the moment had accomplished what confrontation never could. Each looked down as Sophia passed, shame evident in their postures. The young girl in the NASA shirt broke away from her mother and ran to Sophia's side. She thrust a napkin into her hands with a hastily scribbled equation. "Is this right?" she asked simply before running back to her mother. Sophia smiled, her first genuine smile that morning, and carefully tucked the napkin alongside her work. She glanced at it briefly. The equation was missing a variable, but the approach was creative. As they emerged into the sunlight, surrounded by Harvard's quantum computing elite, Sophia looked up at Dr. Harrington. "You didn't have to do this." "Yes, Miss Chen," he replied. "We did. The future of quantum computing doesn't wait for people to be polite." As she stepped into the Mercedes, Dr. Harrington handed her a folder with the Harvard insignia. "Your research fellowship details. The board approved it unanimously this morning." Sophia took the folder, hands steady now. Some pioneers never follow traditional paths, but bear criticism so others can benefit from their vision. Sometimes a comment and a laugh are enough to reveal character or lack thereof. The greatest innovations aren't always created in famous institutions, but in corner coffee shops where someone chose to think differently rather than conform. If you believe brilliance deserves to be recognized regardless of credentials, subscribe to Fresh Perspectives, where unconventional thinkers find their voice. Fresh Perspectives, where unconventional thinkers speak.